did it. Further distinction. In some instances, the circumstances of the individual case are significant even according to Rosh and Ran. Certain melachos are performed on a large scale in production of the certain foods, but are performed on a daily basis with other foods. One such example, melacha of sorting, which pertains to the separating impurities from food. Before the grain can be ground into flour, the dirt the dirt that adheres to it during the harvest must be removed. This act of sorting is done on a large scale. On the other hand, the act of skimming fat from the soup, there is impurity from food, is normally done on a small scale before each meal. For example, it is the melacha of grinding, which pertains both the grinding solid foods into powder from the chopping it into small bits. Okay. Grain is commonly ground into flour on a large scale, whether the vegetables are commonly diced for a salad in a small scale. Let's stop here and try to understand what we just said. So it's further distinction. In some instances, circumstances of individual case are significant even according to Rosh and Ran. So Rosh and Ran, as the one who they say, no, if it's done, usually done on a massive scale, right? That's forbidden even on an individual scale. But but we're going to see now it's not always the case, right? So certain melachas are performed on large scale in production certain foods, but performed on a daily basis for other foods. For some foods it's on a big scale, for others on a small scale. So you cannot do like this other melachas. So it's not this, but other melachas, like generalized. One example of melacha of sorting, which pertains to separating impurities from food. So I don't remember, did we learn sorting? Long time ago. So we learned melacha of sorting. So the definition of melacha of sorting is you separate what you don't want from what you want, right? And that is 100% forbidden on Shabbos, right? On Yom Tov, we're going to say it is allowed. Okay. So certain impurities. So meaning they take impurities from the food. So take food from impurities, there is no problem. And the most famous example is grapes, right? You have a cluster of grapes and you have few pieces of spoiled. Of course, if you take only good one, there is no problem whatsoever. You leave the bad one attached, no problem, right? But you're not allowed to remove the bad ones, the spoiled ones. Okay. Before the grain can be ground into flour, right? The dirt and that adheres to it during the harvest must be removed. So that's why you have this, right? What is it? A sieve or something, right? To sift the flour through, right? To separate it from impurities. Oh no! Actually, I apologize. This step even before that, it's separating grain from impurities. Okay, this is sorting is done on a large scale. So for sure, like nobody would do like a few kernels of grain, right? So only on a large scale. On the other hand, the act of skimming the fat from the soup, there is impurity from the food, is normally done on a small scale before each meal. So it's very interesting. So another example of separating bad from good. Bad is whatever you don't want to eat. It does not mean it's garbage or something like right. But something that you do not want is considered to be impurity, right? So this impurity of the fat on top of the, so it's not healthy. If somebody cooks in this way, it's like a killer, right? So try to eat healthy. without this fat on the top of this food, on this soup. That's not good. Okay, so but this is done only like when it says on a small scale before each meal. So if it's, let's say, if it's in a refrigerator and you have this fat on top, there is no problem whatsoever, right? But when you're going to warm up or you're going to, like, before you eat, yeah, you're going to remove this fat. That's a proper way to do, right? So on Shabbos you would be allowed only to remove it only if you're going to remove it with the good stuff, right? Some soup together with this fat. But anyway, but we see that in some instances, separated this grain from impurity, it's only on a big scale, a commercial scale, and removing this fat from the soup, it's on a small scale. Another example of melacha is grinding, which pertains to the both grinding solid foods into powdery form, and chop it in small bits. So grinded, the definition of grind, it's a classic definition. It's reducing the size of the food. So reducing the size of the food to the tiny pieces, right? It would be this, what is it? Like grind into powder, like herbs or flour would be good examples, and plus also chop vegetables to the very small bits, right? So when we do salads, especially on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, it's more relaxed. But on Shabbos, we try not to do these pieces too small, like Israeli salad, right? Or onions. Like don't chop onions like very fine, because it's a person can violate this melach of grinding. Continue. Grain is commonly ground into the flour on a large scale. So that's so they say it's you cannot say in general. It's also on a case by case basis. Whether the vegetable is commonly diced for a salad on a small scale, right? You don't prepare this diced vegetables for next 7 days. No, you do it only for one meal. With respect to the category to this category of melacha, the rule is, according to Rosh and Ran, that they are prohibited when associated with large-scale food production, but are permitted on a small-scale food production that is normally done on a daily basis. Okay, so let's do it again, and we're going to explain. With respect to this category of melachas, so meaning this category is meaning what? That it could be done on a large scale or on a small scale, right? So the rule is according to the Rosh and Ran. Okay. Rosh and Ran, that they are prohibited when associated with a large scale production. So meaning grind flour they would not allow us, right? But chop dice the vegetables for salad, no problem. But are permitted for small scale food production that is more normally done on a daily basis. So it's normally done on a daily basis are the keywords, right? And we're going to use them to determine what can we do and what we cannot do. The origin of this rule. Okay, Rosh and Ran agree that the prohibition of full preparatory melachas are normally done on a large scale is rabbinic origin. However, they disagree concerning the reason that the rabbis imposed this rule. Rosh explained that melachas associated with large-scale food production were prohibited because they resemble weekly activities. Ran implies that the rabbis were concerned that these melachas were permitted. I'm sorry, I missed one word. Sorry. If these melachas were permitted, people would do them in a usual manner and prepare enough food for the several days. This would be violation of biblical law, since it is prohibited biblically to do any melacha that is not provide benefit on Yom Tov itself. So that's how we started, right? So we said you can cook, you can do whatever you need, whatever the soul needs, right? Whatever each individual needs, but only for whatever is needed for that day. That's it. Okay, so let's do this piece again, and we're going to explain the origin of this rule. Rosh and Ran agree that the prohibition of food preparatory melachos are normally done on a large scale is rabbinic origin. Okay, so Torah says you can do whatever you need. If you need, go and reap whatever you need grains for, and you trash it. You do, you grind. You do all the preparatory work, right? And then you bake it. So, but Rabbi say no. If it's on a large scale, don't do it, right? However, they disagree concerning the reason that the rabbis impose this rule. Okay, so they agree on in general on the fact, but the reason's different. Okay, Rosh explains that the melacha associated with large scale food preparation were prohibited because they resemble weekday activities, right? And that's as we said before. Nobody is going to trash like few pounds of grain. No, they're going to do like a ton or some 2 tons. I don't know, a lot. So maybe in a few days they can finish the threshing. Let's say. Right, and that's an example of weekday activities, according to Rosh. Ran implies that the rabbis were concerned that these melachos were permitted. If they were permitted, people would do them in an unusual manner. So, and we're going to learn some things that is on which there is disagreement of our poskim. So they would allow us to do, rabbis forbade, and rabbis would allow to do it in unusual manner, right? So in unusual manner, so it's not like halacha is done. So if we allow people, so according to Ran, right? So if you allow people to do this melacha, they would do it with a shinoi. Shinoi is like unusual manner, what they call deviation, right? And people would do it like spend the whole holidays doing this instead of learning Torah. Usual manner, prepare enough food for several days, right? Which is absolutely wrong. This would be violation of biblical law because it is forbidden biblically to do any melacha that will not provide benefit on Yom Tov itself. So very, very clear. So if it's not for Yom Tov itself, if it's not for this day, so it would be absolutely forbidden.